how's education going to change in the next decade or so? Education is really changing, and we've been seeing a lot of these themes over here today. I've been really interested specifically more about technology education because, technology really is revolutionizing how this country operates and how society and the world operates. Things like the internet or climate change or these sorts of things are either engineered by humans or, things that we're going to have to solve or things that are providing platforms for us to build up on the future. Now, so this is why it's really important to get students excited about technology. And in the last few years, I've been working on getting more students involved with technology and creating the next generation of technologists. And so I'm here today to really talk about the story of what we've been doing, some of the interesting things that we've found, and how self-learning is really starting to take a hold in students of younger ages. How did you learn to ride a bike? I mean, when you're in school, if you're in school, you learn usually by listening to the teacher, reading a textbook, and taking multiple choice tests to verify that you actually learned what you did. But in general, that's actually not always the case. In the real world, in other sorts of things, you actually have to learn by doing. You have to learn by getting on that bike, falling off, and getting back on that bike again. And interestingly enough, in the field of informal science education, there's actually a lot of research being done on what's called hybrid spaces, where students are actually learning because they're applying it to their everyday experiences. And with this, students really need to have connections with what they're learning in school and what they're doing in their own time. And funnily enough, I got started with technology back when I was in school. And the reason why school propelled me into technology was that I was trying to play some Flash games, the free online games with my friends back in '06 or so. And all of the websites were actually blocked by my high school. So, we tried to go to freeonlinegames.com, blocked by WebSense. Addictinggames.com, blocked by WebSense. And needless to say, this was a bit frustrating because, me and a bunch of the other rebellious teens at our local high school were trying to play all these online games, and the school district wouldn't let us. So at that time, I was learning a bit about building a website, and I thought, well, since all the websites that currently exist aren't actually available for us, why don't I just throw up a few games on my own website, right? The district doesn't know about my website right now, so if I throw them up there, then we can play these games. So I did, and first off, I just made a simple web page with a few Flash games on there, and my friends loved them, right? And they'd come to me and say, "Hey, Ed, can you add this feature? I loved it if you could search through the games because it's not really easy to actually find." And so I'd say, "Okay, yeah." I wanted to impress my friends, and I went home. I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to do this. But I looked through some tutorials online. I'd also, open up a few reference guides. And, I'd come back to school the next day and say, "Hey, done. I got that feature in. I built the search feature. So now you can find the games that you want to play on this site." And, this continued for the next 2 years or so until suddenly I was getting 10,000 visitors per day to the website, starting to earn ad revenue. And I was a pretty happy high school student. So after that, it was actually really interesting to see how other students perceived me while I was doing this in school. Some other students, a lot of students had this general idea of, I don't know how to do something, so I guess I have to wait until I learn it to do it. And with what I was doing with my website, I was saying, I don't know how to do something, but I'm just going to go figure it out. I can learn how to do it. And I thought, things were starting to die down with my website later on in high school, and I wanted to start changing this culture with students. The students, they thought that, I was some sort of wizard typing in "hello world" into the computer, and then suddenly, boom, a website appears. And it wasn't really that case. It wasn't like, programming wasn't really like a magic incantation that you type into the computer and, things appear. It's actually a process that you can actually do. So what I did that summer, right when I was graduating from high school, I got together a few friends and I said, look, this summer, instead of just hanging around and doing nothing or playing video games, let's go to my house. Let's meet at my house and let's work on building cool things with technology. Let's work on some tech projects. And we started out in the basement of my house, and over the next few years, got our own space, kind of a mix between a maker space and a co-working space where students spent their summers to actually work on some really cool and engaging tech projects. And we actually had some really cool things come out of it. For example, we experimented a lot with 3D printing, with laser cutting, and we had some actually really cool products come out. One team right now that started out at our space is now in California working full-time because they started with an idea to build an app that could help see what's going on in the world around you. And it was something that resonated with an audience, and they were able to take it full-time and get investment for what they're doing. Another group of students, this is actually one of my more favorite projects, but they built what's called a plasma speaker. And this was a team of high school students from Issaquah High School. And they built you see that over there, that's an electric arc, a tiny electric arc, kind of like a lightning bolt or, the arc you see in static electricity or a taser. But they built this circuit, electronic circuit, to create an arc that instead of creating, when you hear lightning bolt, when you see a lightning bolt, you hear thunder because it creates this shock wave. It superheats the air, creates this shock wave that you hear as a boom. They use that electric circuit to modulate that arc so you can actually plug it in to an iPod and hear music play on it, which was really, really cool. So what they did is they actually put it up on Kickstarter soon after, and they said, we built this really cool electronic circuit. We think that is neat and awesome. We want to share this with the world. And they did, and they were asking for $2,000 to help mass produce, bring it to other students, other enthusiasts with electronics. And they ended up raising $18,500 to actually mass produce these and send it out, which is really, really incredible. Now, after working on this, after starting StudentRND with the summer program where these students were focusing their time on building something cool with technology, we started trying to do things more into the school year. We thought, we're doing these, we're working on these cool tech projects during the summer. How can we get students engaged during the school year? And at first we tried doing the same thing. Let's keep our workspace open. Let's keep all of these resources in the space open during the school year. And what we found was, it didn't quite work that way. Students were very busy during the school year. If you're looking at a typical student, there's always a homework assignment due tomorrow. There's always a test next week. And there's always so many different extracurriculars. We were trying to get students to come to our makerspace and co-work with us. And it's like, this week I'm busy because this Saturday I have the SATs, but next week I'll come over to the event, right? I'll come over and work on a project. Next week you talk with them and they're like, oh yeah, this week I have a bunch of tests, but I'll come next week. And then next week's winter break and they want to play, and then the week after, and so on and so forth. So we thought, how can we get students working on these projects during the school year? And what we came up with was an event called Code Day. So it started out because we thought, well, students really like procrastinating. Students really like doing things at the last minute. You're preparing for a test. You study best the hour before the test for some reason. Preparing for a speech, you prepare the best the night before as well. Well, same thing with Code Day. So we thought, how can we harness that energy of students' tendencies to procrastinate? And some of my friends, they were actually working on this game programming competition where they had 3 months to build a video game and present it to some judges. And what happened was they just built it in the 24 hours before the actual presentation, and they ended up winning, which was pretty amazing. But it wasn't just them. It was probably 80-90% of the students that were presenting at that competition. So we thought, well, let's host this event. Let's host this event where we get students to come and build a video game or build an app or build something that they think is awesome in 24 hours. And so our first event we hosted was in December of 2011. We had 50 students show up, spend all 24 hours at our space working on some really incredible games, apps, and whatnot. And this event is really awesome because it gets both beginners, intermediate students, and advanced students really, really excited and passionate. And it gets students to start self-learning. You get the beginners over to this event, and beginners are interested in technology but don't even know where to start. They come to this event, and we have a workshop where we teach them, hey, why don't you learn this drag and drop programming environment where you can start building a video game? And they do that, and we'll walk you through chapter 1 of this online tutorial, but it's your job. You have 22 hours after this workshop to walk yourself through chapter 2, chapter 3, work with your friends, and build something that you really think is awesome. For the intermediate students, you get, hey, you know how to program. You know how to use an if statement. You know how to use a for statement. But you don't actually know how to build an app or build a website with that. So why don't we actually teach you how to do this? But again, here's chapter 1. You can walk yourself through the latter sections. And for the advanced students, they're always so busy, they never actually finish something. But they come to Code Day and they actually create something incredible. And just the last month, there was a student from Newport High School, again over in Bellevue. He launched an app called Sidebar for the Android App Store. And in the month or two after launching it, got about 200,000 downloads for his free version and another 20,000 downloads for his $2 paid edition. So quite a successful, quite a successful high school student there. So right now we're in the process of taking Code Day to more and more cities across the country. In the last 6 months, we took it from just Seattle to now Portland, San Francisco, LA, as well as New York. And in the next 6 months, we're looking to add another 13 cities. So in conclusion, through all these experiences, it's really interesting to see what happens when you give students the opportunities to self-learn. A lot of these success stories that that have been coming out of StudentRND, it's really hard to fathom. Sometimes, like I talk about these and I mention them to others, and I can't even believe that they happen at times. And it's just really incredible to see. I mean, going back to Jonathan's theme of how is learning changing in the next 5 to 15 years, well, with all of these resources available online and with all of the the breadth of what people are able to do with tools available and whatnot, people are going to start moving to self-learning more. And I hope some of the things I talked earlier today with students self-learning at Code Day or at StudentRND are help you, inspire you to do more things. So, thank you so much for your time.